Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, Snitches Don't Always Get Stitches. Snitches don't always get stitches. You may have heard the old phrase back in the day, snitches get stitches, and the person proceeds to put their fist up because they didn't want you tattling on them. They didn't want you going and telling on them about most likely a devious deed. And for those who were scared of the bully, they didn't tell. Matter of fact, we got adults who are still scared of bullies in the family and elsewhere, and they will not say one word about what they witnessed, what they heard. I will tell you, though, that there is a shift in that old phrase. And these days, there are those snitches who get rewarded. There are those who end up benefiting much by telling a whole lot. We've seen this play out in media. And sooner or later, there are those individuals who end up hurt because of what they've said, what they've done, that got someone in trouble. Others, they are well protected, and you can keep on wishing upon a star that something bad is going to happen to them. As quiet as it's kept, many folks who went from being on the streets to being celebrities said things and did some things that won them some favor with those in powerful positions. Thank you so much for your information. That intel was absolutely helpful. Give this man some money. Give this woman a house. Give this young person his favorite car he always wanted. We will take care of not only you, but your family, because you have been so cooperative. Now, when snitching goes bad, it can go real bad. Yes, the individual has already been rewarded, has gotten benefits, has protection around him or her, but then something happens and that individual slips up. They end up saying some things, and those things aren't protected any longer, or someone hears through the grapevine that their best friend, the person who they've worked with for so long, has been also their Judas, their enemy. Now, whether you agree with what a person has said, whether in your family, elsewhere, out the workplace, in a club somewhere, or even in the media, and whether you feel like it was a righteous act or not, it doesn't give anyone the excuse, the reason to kill. If you find out that Judas was never really in love, wasn't supportive, had backstabbed you a long time ago, doesn't give you the right to have a murderous thought in your head, act out on that murderous thought, or see an opportunity, grab at that opportunity and kill. But when a person finds out some information and they're so hurt by it, the audacity that you had been sitting at my table and you said what you said and did what you did, yes, it can drive you mad. So angry to the point where you want to show up and hurt that person. When we know people are like this, whether near or far, and all the while they're being sweet and nice and accommodating or what have you, The enemy can work with what you've been hiding, keeping secret, and cause you to do the unthinkable. Cause you to contemplate, wish upon a star, see a witch or a warlock, do the types of despicable things that God himself will say, now that you have ushered in this demonic presence, this evil, you are going to experience some things that are going to hurt you to the core. But see, he snitched on me. She lied on me, or she said all this stuff, or she acted like she cared for me, liked me, and then had the nerve to badmouth me to these folks and thought that it was never going to come back. Come on now, Lord. Why don't you do something? We don't always see or hear or know what God is doing. But can I tell you from personal experience, he does deal with an individual. Just when they thought that their conversation was protected, just when they thought that everybody liked them or cared for them, just when they thought they didn't have any people who would betray them, then something comes along, and just as they did something that may have been an unrighteous act, then the boomerang effect occurs. And now it's happening to their daughter or to their son. Doesn't necessarily have to happen to that one who has orchestrated the evil act to get the tattletale, to get the snitch. Some snitching is indeed pushed along, exposed, provided by the one true God. Wrap your head around that one. He has allowed a snitch to get the favor, to expose another individual, to be protected, to bring someone down. Can I tell you that all those phones that go up with the cameras, they're electronic snitches. They're electronic snitches. All the audios that are secretly recorded or quite blatantly out there, they are electronic snitches. The individuals who you share maybe just simple information, you don't think nothing of it, and then they go and they take that simple information that you didn't think nothing of it and tell someone who does think something of it, who may have a background in psychology and uses that information against you. Come on. An individual who simply snitches on his or herself. Some of you all go, well, wait a minute. How can that happen? They can get drunk. They can be under the influence and start telling some things and forgot that they even opened up their mouths. Some secrets fall off their lips. Never intended, but now it's out there. Or they can simply snitch on themselves by their mannerisms. You don't have to say anything, the parent says, because I can see what's going on. But no sense in protecting that brother, that sister, your grandmother, your grandfather. I can see that you've been told to keep a secret because you're so nervous. Some folks so nervous that they wet themselves because they're afraid of what might happen because they know something. Didn't open up their mouths. It's just the idea that they know something and never did bother to open up their mouths. Snitching can come in so many different ways, but it doesn't have to always be about that's a bad thing, because you see, if that electronic snitch didn't show the evidence and proof that somebody did something bad, then that person can be let go. That person will never be prosecuted. That person will never have to face judgment, you see. Not all snitching is bad, and not all snitching will lead to someone getting stitches. But of course, the enemy has long put this misconception out here that every snitch ends up getting hurt, because we know better. Like I said, there were those that were in the street, and time again, they've been blessed, if you will, for all of the names that they threw under the bus, all of the systems that they exposed, all of the people who they had been talking to about any number of things. And then they went and talked to some other people about what they talked to or talked about in that other group. But of course, when the demonic wants you to think something, he or she or it will have you to believe that what a snitch does is all bad. But we know, those of us who used to watch way back in the day, I'm dating myself, Starsky and Hutch, and Huggy Bear was giving some intel to those detectives. And that intel would help them solve a case, or it would help them get on the right trail. There's always a Huggy Bear, and that Huggy Bear gets to stay out on the street. Just don't say that I told you. Judas was a snitch in the Bible. Who'd he snitch on? Jesus. And what did he get when he snitched? Money. But if you're going to be that one that is going to tell on a righteous man, you better have a conscience. But you see, or you better not, I should say, have a conscience. Judas had a conscience, you see. He worked with this man. He knew plenty about this man called Jesus. And he also knew the power that Jesus had. And he probably even was a bit jealous, because, I mean, he had to have something on the inside of him to motivate him to throw a righteous man under the bus. Now, it's one thing when a snitch throws an unrighteous person under the bus, but when a snitch throws a righteous person under the bus, yeah, he deserves whatever's coming to him or her. This man has done no wrong. You know what the mission is. He's even taught you. And you got a lot of nerve to go over here and talk to these people for some money. And you are the one who holds the money. I mean, you could have asked Jesus, if you wanted money that bad, can I get a little bit of this money that's in this money bag? And being that he was a kind, generous individual, he probably would have been like, all right, take a cut. But no. It's never good enough. Someone's always wanting more. Someone's always looking at what somebody has. And those jealous thoughts, jealous feelings start to take hold. You know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to tell so-and-so about what this person is up to. But you know this is going to benefit all of us. But yet the snitch goes and he says, nah, but I want my cut. I want my piece. I want more. God sees. God knows. When dare we say it, the righteous snitch, the righteous tattletale, goes and shares some information. How do you know one is righteous? Because that information leads to someone's freedom. The oppressed is no longer oppressed. We know the righteous snitch is going to get some things done. There's a bigger picture. There's something that they know that we don't know. We might initially be upset because we don't want to be thrown under the bus right along with them, or we're afraid that somebody might think we said this or we did this. And sometimes there's a calling on one's life to join the righteous snitches, the tattletales. And people, once again, who are comfortable, who don't want any backlash, who may not agree with the snitches are not going to partake or participate. The key, if you are going to be that one that wants to expose, is that you've got to tell those individuals who you do need their assistance what the benefit is to them. If you need someone's cooperation, then you've got to be that one that does give those who expose something. Oh, I could really use this person. Well, then you better make sure that you get those bills paid for that person. You better make sure that you get them a really good gift of some sort, or have someone make a fabulous meal, or take them on a trip somewhere. I mean, if it's going to be something that they could potentially be in a lot of trouble for a while before the truth shows up and shows out and frees them, then that's the least you can do, is take care of them. But we got people who they want some information. Lord, they want some information about just about any and everything. But what are they willing to do to get that information? Then we've got, as I've said, we got righteous snitches, we got unrighteous snitches who they simply want to start up a war because they think they're going to benefit. And most often the unrighteous snitch ends up losing far more than they ever gain. And it's a temporary protection, or it's a temporary favor. No one's trying to take care of them for the rest of their lives. Because 9 times out of 10, that unrighteous snitch, he is already pegged to be unrighteous. He's just a pawn in the game. A lot of times an unrighteous snitch is sacrificed. Well, if he's bold enough to say this or say that, he already got unrighteous affiliations and connections. Ain't no sense in sharing, or shedding, I should say, a tear for him. Because he'll throw anybody under the bus, righteous, unrighteous, he don't care, just as long as he gets something out the deal. And he don't care that it's temporary. And he don't care that somebody is destroyed around him because of it. He don't care about too much of anything but himself. Now that leads me to the narcissistic, unrighteous, lion snitch. Self-centered, self-absorbed, selfish. It's all about self. He looks at the big picture, or she looks at the big picture. I'm going to get this money. I'm going to get this money or this opportunity in the time being. But I don't have no respect. I don't have no type of love. I don't have no type of anything concerning this organization or this individual. I'm just going to get it and get gone. Whatever that get it might be, right? So when the opportunity comes to tell the truth, if there's some benefit in telling the lie, that narcissistic snitch is going to do just that. So now there's this false story that's being circulated, and he gets his reward, benefits for the time until the truth catches up. Now here comes more lies. What had happened was, the unrighteous, low down, dirty, rotten scum of the earth may even take on a false role of being righteous. Stay with me. So he appears to be a righteous soul on a mission, trying to help out humanity. But underneath that false front is nothing more than an evil person who has not repented once the truth is caught up to him. He hasn't changed. She hasn't changed. Still talking crazy, still doing crazy things. Sometimes it's drugs that make people act so erratic, so crazy, so just, I can't believe you said all of that, because quite naturally they want more drugs. It's an addiction that they have, and the addiction is driving them to say the most unthinkable things and do the most unthinkable things. But sometimes it has nothing to do with an addiction. It's a personality disorder. They were lying when they were little, always coming up with stories. And as they got older, they told even more. Then, of course, you got those individuals who are not only narcissistic and wicked, but they're self-righteous. So they know how to put on a false front, not just in the meantime, like the wicked snitch, just to get some heat off of them a bit. But they're like this all the time. Fake, fake, and fake some more. They've mastered the art of being this righteous person when in fact they're nothing more than being that way for selfish gain. Self-righteous individuals are prideful. Self-righteous individual, a good example would be a Pharaoh. A Pharaoh who, I am the leader. I am responsible for all of this labor, and I am going to make sure that my needs get met. And yes, I am fair, and I'm great, and I'm, whatever. And they learn how to walk in this regal, professional, very so-called righteous look. But there's not any righteousness in them. Once again, it's all about what is in it for me. So that one who has that great poise, they're going to be an individual that comes across as believable, as opposed to the snitch who's all wicked and dirty and has an addiction or what have you. Well, all you're scratching and itching and moving around and talking quick. Who are you convincing? But when you got that one who has this poise about him or her, that's quite believable, even though they're walking in all sorts of wickedness, you're going to be more likely to believe them until you do some research, until you do some interviewing of others, until you sit down for a while and really pick their brain a bit and try to keep your personal likes off the table, personal preferences and all that. Because when you're dealing with these types of snitches who are clever, they know how to find your weakness in maybe the way you talk, the way you dress, what they heard about you, and then use it in such a way where they give you the illusion that you're benefiting by whatever they're telling you. Very clever. So if the self-righteous individual who shows up with this false front that appears like he or she is righteous, they're very poised, very eloquent, very articulate in how they speak. And they sit down and they're very calm as well and controlled. And they tell you a pack of lies about something. While they're talking about, you tend to be this way and that way, whatever your weakness might be. Then you just might believe this person, you see. And you might even go so far as to reward them. And they get away with what they get away with until once again the truth shows up. The truth catches up to them. And now you feel played. I thought that individual really cared about me. I mean, we had a rapport. He told me all these things that I was going through while he shared what he was going through. And I mean, just the way his demeanor was, and he looked good and he smelled good. And, he's got these accolades. I mean, he pulled these certificates out. I couldn't help but believe him. And then the car that he drove up in, and he showed me a picture of his nice looking family. You see, and as I'm telling you all some of this, you can picture someone who, wait a minute, is he what she is describing? Is he a Judas among me? You got to go beyond what a person shows you, what a person tells you. So I had to let some folks know today about the snitching or the snitches, and how there is, yes, the righteous as well as the unrighteous. The stories, though, that once again in media that you're fed about individuals, initially you look at something, like for instance, police brutality, and you say, oh my goodness, this police officer did this terrible thing to this individual. But then if there's this history, there's this connection with an individual who is killed, unfortunately, by the police officer. And that individual has been doing some, let's say, righteous snitching, has been a thorn in that police officer's side. It isn't about the racist. It's about the fact that the police officer who has been exposed, who has been snitched on, is angry at that individual who has snitched and has applied force, brutal force, to take that person out and hope and pray that they get off doing it. And if the person just so happens to be a black person that they know has snitched on them, and we see it, we look at it as, oh, this is a racist act. Meanwhile, you don't know the history. That white police officer most likely is cool with all sorts of folks. But I don't like this one who happens to be black or brown or what have you. Not because of the color of their skin, but I don't like them because they're a snitch. You gotta pay close attention to that angle as you're doing research, as you're finding out more and more about what's happening. A lot of times when they're out there on their beat, these police officers, they are building up these rapport with different people. And when they don't like something that's said, or when they get called out on the carpet about something that they did in the street where there were a lot of witnesses, and they're making these deals with some of these shady individuals, and they're shady themselves, and someone turns on them, or they find out that there's some double gaming going on. He's telling on this one and he's also telling on that one, and he's getting money from this officer and he's getting drugs from this one. And there's these deals that are being made. And when a deal goes awry and when there's this snitching that's going on, a person can be so angry that they kill. A person who is a dirty individual can be so enraged that they don't care any longer about being found out. Well, if you're going to destroy me, if you're going to throw me under the bus, well, you're not going to live. You're not going to be protected. You're not going to receive any more benefits. And so he takes that person out. And some folks have gotten away with this sort of thing, taking snitches out, because who's going to believe that whore? Who's going to believe that drug addict? Who's going to believe that one with the personality disorder who's going through PTSD? You see. So keep that in mind as more stories show up. There's always that story behind the story. There's always the chaos behind the chaos. And then chaos is silenced on the front end. Or it may be amplified on the front end and silenced on the back end. Because we all are going to benefit in some way if some folks just lay low for a while, you see. A lot of things go on. And I thank God for his insight as always. And I thank you, listener, for taking the time out to think a bit, right, about these sorts of things. And if you do become a righteous snitch at some point, just make sure that you got the protection of the one true God, as well as the protection of men and women, and that God's angels will work on your behalf, and that you're not just giving information out just to be giving information out, but that there is some benefit that you get. Because God forbid, if you do end up losing your life, well, at least you know that there's some family that's being taken care of in the process of all that they're going through in your absence. Yes, we got some martyrs out here, martyrs for Christ, martyrs that God has appointed and anointed. Sometimes it takes death for folks to wake up. Thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving on this channel, and thank you in advance.